And I could be wrong. You guys could look at this, and I could be wrong on this. I could be wrong, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. You'd have to ask him. But
Mike, we got a special episode, a bonus episode this week. We just put one out yesterday. We're putting another one out today for two reasons. A, Kansas just beat Kentucky Champions Classic 89-84. Hunter Dickinson put a Big Mac down 27-21. Kevin McCullough triple-double. DeJuan Harris career high. But that's not the only reason we're doing an extra episode, because we have a special guest with us. And if you're watching on YouTube, you already see who it is. The one and only national champion, legend, author, Darnell Jackson is with us tonight. D-Block, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. We're fired up after the KU win. Your book is out on Amazon now. We're going to be talking about that. I'm excited. To get in, but thanks for joining us. And by the way, should we call you Darnell? D-Block? Block? What is the preferred?
Honestly,
like?
Darnell is fine because, I really don't even hear it. Like, I really don't even hear my name that much. Even when I'm coaching the guys be like, D-Block. They don't ever call me coach. They call me Block or D-Block. So Darnell is fine. I like hearing it sometimes.
Okay. It's Darnell.
By the way,
today.
Congratulations, Darnell. Now with the Clippers, I know you've been doing training for a while out on the West Coast, and now with your job with the Clippers, exciting time for you. So congratulations. Thanks again for hopping on with us. Yeah, I want to just start here at the top. KU beats Kentucky. That was a game that looked like it was headed for Scary Town. With about 5 minutes into the second half, KU was down by, I think it was like 11 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, they did that thing they do, reminiscent, down 6 with 3 minutes to go. Not quite as good as your guys' comeback back in 08, but KU gets the win. All of the seniors went off. The stat lines are ridiculous. Hunter Dickinson, 27-21, triple-double for McCullough, 23 points off 4 of 5 threes for DeJuan Harris. I'm sure you're not surprised, but what is your takeaway from KU winning this one?
Oh, I wasn't nervous at all because, like everybody knows this. Like when we're down and we come out in the second half, you already know Coach Self had those guys fired up. He got into them pretty good. Like a volcano eruption. I know he blew it. I know he blew his soul off his head. So, you can see it. Like those guys came out, they out rebounded Kentucky, outshot them. They shot 33% from three. And like you said, DeJuan Harris, he had a great game. He shot 5 and 6 from three, and he's known for not being a shooter. So for him to step up like that for the team is huge for those guys. And big fella, he showed up, had a double-double. Then Kevin had 10, 10, and 12. Can't beat that, man. So it was a great rival. Hey, I just want to apologize to John Wall and DeMarcus. Maybe next time, when it comes to these Jayhawks, man, good luck.
By the way, you said Self lit into him at halftime. There have been some stories the last couple of years that maybe he's softening his touch a little bit, that he's a little more mellow in his older age.
Whoa.
When you're sorry, go ahead. What do you think about that?
I don't believe it. I don't believe it, man. Coach Self walking into the locker room being calm with these young guys. Come on, really? So he's going to go in there and it's like, oh, it's okay, guys. Let's just go out here and play hard. No, there's no way. There's no way. Those guys came out with more intensity, played more physical, and they were moving the ball, and they were making shots.
I think it was Dana O'Neill tweeted after a timeout that she could just hear Self screaming, "You're terrible" at someone. So like he really tried. You could tell he was trying to stay calm. He like let them play through a Kentucky run early too. It just slowly picked up as the game went. And sure enough, there by the end, it was pretty late when he was, I think, coming out of that timeout, I guess, calling someone or maybe all of them terrible. So, I don't think he's going to change. Like, he tried.
Yeah. Knowing him, he's probably telling the whole team, like, you guys are terrible. So, like having a Hall of Fame coach like that, in my opinion, is going to go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time. Uh, why wouldn't you want to go out and play hard for someone like that? Coming from a winning culture, the environment, especially the community there in Lawrence and all the Jayhawk fans around the world. Like, come on, man. Like, you got to put it all out there on the court.
Do you think it takes young guys like time around Bill Self to build up that thick skin to just get used to like, hey, this is just the way he's going to talk
Yeah.
to us? Like, I'm sure people have coaches like that in high school, but I'm sure it's probably a different level when you're playing Kentucky national television in Chicago and you think this is your big moment and Bill Self's just ripping you a new one in the huddle. Like, how long does it take for you to get acclimated to that?
Well, for me, I feel like it comes from, well, if you're coming from an environment or a system where you're coming from a hard nosed coach, like you're going to be used to it. A lot of guys are not used to Coach Self. That's why this is just my opinion on the outside looking in. When you see all these guys leave and transfer, I'm just like, yo, like, oh, Coach Self, or no, you can't put it on the coach. You got to put it on yourself because you didn't come in prepared. You thought things were going to be sweet and there was going to be a cakewalk, but understanding the tradition of being a Jayhawk and wearing that jersey, like it's heavy, and you got to know how to carry that load.
Yeah, if you do any research before going to KU, if you talk to anyone, and if you're at that level, you should be able to find someone to talk to. They will tell you. And I know, like, you talk to plenty of players, and like there are going to be feelings about Bill. He's hard to play for, clearly, especially some maybe offensively focused guys. It takes time. But do you remember, like, coming in, were you used to it? Did you have a tougher coach in high school, or was it like,
Hell no, I wasn't used to
whoa.
it, man. No, I wasn't. I used to look at Coach Self, like, man, this dude is nuts. Like, man, like, ease up a little bit, get off me. But he's seen something in me that I didn't see, and every day he poke until Darnell came out. So if it wasn't for him doing that, I probably wouldn't became the player I was at Kansas.
Is a part of it like a test? I mean, I know there's a method behind the madness, but is part of it a test for him to see, like, hey, can you handle this? Because if you can't, then you probably shouldn't be here anyway.
For sure. Oh yeah, I think for all coaches at all levels, even here in the pros, like I think it's always a test, especially for these young guys coming in. Like you got to understand, like your job is to consistently do this every day, consistently being efficient, being on time, or being early, putting in the extra work, then going to class on top of that, then coming back for practice, traveling, games. It's a schedule. And a lot of those guys that, social media era nowadays, they talk about that like it's affecting players. And I think it is because now, like, you go somewhere and you don't like it and you leave and you jump in that portal, it's not promised that you're going to get picked up. So a lot of these guys want to go across seas or go try to try out for these G League teams or the OTE programs. Like, it's hard, man. It's a lot of talented players in this world, man. And you got to be like one of the ones that's going to make it.
You're saying, like, social media affecting them? Like, what do you think, or what do people kind of say about, like, the crop that's coming out right now? I'm just curious. Like, do you think it's like the old guard is always going to be complaining about the new guys, or is it like something's a little different right now?
No, like with me, just paying attention to everything and just being around like older guys or veteran guys, like they're not worrying about these young guys coming in because you don't know yet.
Right.
Think about it. You really don't understand what it takes to be a professional athlete at the highest level in the world. You coming straight from high school, or you coming from 1 year cross seas, or you coming from 1 year of just sitting out and working out all summer, and when you finally get the opportunity to work out with the best of the best in the world, it's a totally different ball game with those guys. I'm not going to take it easy on you.
No.
I want to get into Hunter Dickinson, preseason All-American, Big 12 Player of the Year, et cetera, et cetera. Got all the accolades. I think we expected him to be good. don't know if anyone expected him to be this good, 27 and 21 versus Kentucky. And it wasn't easy for him because Kentucky comes in knowing they're running the offense through him. And they were throwing 2-3 bodies at him. KU was not deterred. And I'm curious for Bill Self because we've seen the evolution of basketball and we've seen Bill Self kind of be stubborn in going along with that evolution. Like there was a time 7-8 years ago when basketball was kind of shifting away from traditional two bigs, post ups, all of that. And Bill wanted to keep going. And it worked out well. Like having guys like Udoka and then David McCormick, like winning a national championship, he stuck with it. But now you've got the best post player in the country, bar none. And knowing what you know about Bill Self, I'm assuming like he's kind of rubbing his hands together. Like, here we go. I can get back into my bag and do the stuff I want because like this looks like it's going to be a pretty special season for Dickinson with Bill Self.
For sure. Especially if the big fella stays hungry, and being effective the way he was today throughout the season, like it's scary because now it changes the whole game. So are we gonna trap Hunter the whole time? Now we got shooters on the perimeter. We got guys cutting from the wing, crashing the glass. Like it helps. It makes the game a lot easier for a lot of guys if he's doing his job.
There's a cool thing Bill did today, and I kind of want to mention it. 2 in-game adjustments and then take it back to Bill. But they started out with KJ Adams at the 4. He was playing, KU goes inside out, or 2 bigs, right? High, low, even. I guess I would say like KJ was out on the perimeter early and Hunter was down low, and they realized, or Self seemed to realize, that KJ had an advantage, and if all the focus was on Hunter, they could flip it. And so then in the second half there, he started playing Hunter on the outside, and they were posting up KJ Adams. It was a really, really smart move by Self. It was a classic adjustment. And then late also he put in a athletic freshman, Jamari McDowell, who hadn't played all game, to go guard Antonio Reeves and just kind of mess with him a little bit. Like, it worked. So the point here is like, KU always seems to win these games, like close games against good teams, like at a ridiculously high rate. And I guess it comes back to Bill, like, is part of it that these dudes expect to win being at Kansas? Is it his in-game adjustments? Is it both? Everything? Like, how it's just ridiculous that they're winning this many close games. And they're college guys. Like, they're not predictable. So I don't know if you have any insight into like how they keep doing it.
Man, it's basketball, man. Like the game is all about rhythm, bro. Game of runs. You make shots, you miss shots. But to me, I feel like it always comes down to pace. Who's going to be more physical? Who's going to rebound? Get us extra possession, 50-50 balls. And at the end, like the games get tight, like we just seen tonight. But with just the adjustments, Coach Self's been there. Like some of the guys on the roster, they've been there. So it's a natural reaction of like, okay, we've been here before. Let's calm down and let's execute and stay within what we do as a team.
That's a good point.
What happened. I want to talk about DeJuan Harris because, I mean, Hunter's stat line is going to be the one that everybody points to and says, holy shit, like, what did this guy just do? But DeJuan, career high, and down the stretch, like, Kentucky wasn't changing anything up defensively. They were saying, you can't shoot, you don't shoot, we're going to leave you. And if we lose the game, we're going to lose it because you hit a bunch of threes. Well, that's exactly what he did. Like, the man did not miss down the stretch. And for this kid who came in, scrawny little dude from Columbia, Missouri, like, how is this guy going to play high-level Kansas basketball for a team that wants to win a national championship? You fast forward 3 years, he is as invaluable of a piece to this team, maybe as invaluable of a player that there is in college basketball. His growth across 4 years has been tremendous, and I'm sure you can probably relate to that a little bit, D-Block, but I'm just curious to get your take on what we've seen this guy kind of become over his 4 years at Kansas.
I never had the opportunity to talk about this. So with Harris, so who was it that was there? It was Harris and the young kid that's from Tulsa. He went to OSU. I always forget his name.
Bryce Thompson.
Bryce Thompson.
So I remember, I think it was Coach Self that came out like he was trying to figure out who was going to play the point guard. And I had an argument with one of my best friends, and I kept telling him he was so high on Bryce, and I kept telling him I was like, "Yo, Bryce is not the guy to run the team. It's Harris." He's like, "Oh man, you're jealous of him. He's an Oklahoma kid," and I'm like, "I'm not jealous. I'm just telling you, just from experience, like the way he plays, he creates for others, and when he's open, like he's going to shoot the ball with confidence, and once he's knocking his shot down, it's going to change the game." The next thing you know, look what happened. Harris got that starting role. You know, no knock to Bryce. I believe he's still going to be an NBA player. He had to leave. He had to leave that environment because it didn't fit his style of play. Right? That's what you just said. Like guys that come in, they expect to be the guy or take all these shots. No, that foundation has been set. Coach Self has already set as soon as he stepped foot on campus. Is already set. So a lot of guys don't want to buy into that. DeWine did. Now look at the success he's having on the floor.
How do guys, did they just think that it, I'm just curious like how it surprises guys when they get in there, or is it just like they get there and they're confident, they've always been great, so they just don't know. I'm kind of curious, like
You got to throw other, things in there. Like it could be people in their ear. It could be an agent or a runner for them, or a best friend, a girlfriend. Like, oh yeah, man, you got to do this, you got to do that. Then now, like, you got people telling you this, and
that's a good
and
point.
the coach self and the assistant coaches are telling you like, hey, this is what you have to do for us to win, for you to be successful, to move on to being professional. If that's the G League, cross seas, or the NBA. But you're going to have some of those guys that don't listen. Then that's when they're going to put, I don't want to say the word, but put the foot in their butt. And next thing you know, you're at home.
You can cuss.
Part of the reason why Harris is so good and why this team's like identity, like the floor is going to be pretty high defensively with Kansas, because you got two of the best perimeter defenders in the country in Harris and in Kevin, and then now you've got a 7-footer with a 7'4" wingspan down low. Like you're going to have a pretty good margin for error defensively. I'm curious with you guys, because not just the championship year in 08, but 2 seasons prior, you guys were one of the best defensive teams in the country. But your freshman year, when it was still kind of a transition year from Roy's guys to Bill's guys, like that was not the makeup of Roy Williams' teams at Kansas.
Right.
But the second that transition switched and you guys got super young, super fast, your second year, what was that like as Bill was implementing his identity and implementing what he does, which is like, Kansas is going to guard. We're going to defend. We're going to be an elite defensive team, because it seemed to happen overnight. You guys were immediately one of the best defensive teams in the country.
It was a nightmare. I swear to God, dude, like it was a nightmare. I'm talking about if you get beat middle or somebody get touched like a foot in the paint, like you're on the treadmill or you're on the bike or you're running sprints. It was just like Coach Self is a genius, man. Like the perfection that he carries with himself is like has to be right. Like we'll run it 1,000 times over and over and over until he feels like it's perfect. If it's not perfect, we're gonna do it again. And I feel like that what helped us, because he was so honest about being perfect and walking on the court with swagger and bringing toughness. And he's always saying like, oh, you're soft if you don't go for a 50-50 ball, or you're soft if you don't go for offensive rebound. And some of us that come from that culture, a rough culture of playing in these physical games or playing against the best player in the world, like we had something to prove. Those years, like what, freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, we lost. And my junior year, after we lost to UCLA, I literally said that we were going to win it next year. I was like, we're going to win it next year. And I truly believe that just because of what we had. and especially with Coach Self and the coaching staff, the way they coached us.
I want to ask about. Well, first of all, you said we were gonna win. Who'd you say that to? Were you just like
It was a
telling people
reporter.
in your around? Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a reporter after the game. Like I forgot who it was, and they was like, "Oh, what do you think about next year?" And I said, I was like, "We're going to win it next year." I'm like, I truly believe we will win it all next
What what about like now I want to get into some of the legendary like stories and the games that you played in.
year. Hmm.
We kind of actually I'm curious because you were talking about how good the '08 team was on the Discord today with people, and I was thinking about the 2007 y'all beat Florida in Vegas. It was an overtime game.
Hmm.
I really felt like it was like kind of the announcement. If that Florida team was coming off the championship too, they had Horford and Noah.
Yeah,
You remember, like, I don't know. I feel like y'all had a chip on your shoulder coming into that one. I'm curious what you remember, or if you remember much from that thing,
I do.
because that game was wild.
It was crazy. And this is what I'm gonna say. Julian Wright beat Florida 4. He beat that
It
team
was
by
awesome.
that dude was amazing. I was like, man, he's going to the league after this year's over with. So I
Dude,
gotta give it to Julian, man. He brought the energy, he brought the toughness, he was focused, he wasn't nervous, man, and he was so locked in on that game. And I think that really helped the team, pull it out.
I've got I got another one I want to ask. I want to ask about the Henry Tees meeting. In the
Mhm.
famous, you probably get asked about this whenever you. I don't know if as you do these interviews.
Mhm.
That was, I guess, for people who don't know, and I might, Nick, I don't know if you all the context, but it was 2008 season
Mhm.
after a loss. I don't know if it was the Oak State loss, and I want to ask about that too. But there was some team meeting at Henry Tees. It's a famous like KU legendary story.
Yeah, so shout out to Matt Kleiman. Love you, brother. So Matt Kleiman and Jeremy Case, man, they just came one day and was just like, hey man, we need to have a meeting. And we were at Henry T's, and we're all sitting around the table ordering food. Then Matt and Jeremy, they started it off, and they both held us accountable. Like they held the whole team accountable. They were like, man, everybody's gonna go by one and state what you're gonna provide to the team. And we're gonna hold you accountable to that. And that's what everybody did, man. And I just felt like if it wasn't for that meeting and everybody just really buying in, like I don't think we probably would have made that run to the tourney. But that meeting definitely healed some wounds and made us closer.
So, what was the shift that meeting kind of set into motion there? Like, because you guys, it's not like you guys were struggling before that. Yes, you had
Right.
lost 3 of whatever 8, but you guys started 20-0 that year. You were the best team in the country. What existed before that meeting that didn't after?
I just feel like it was just a lack of consistency. I feel like a lot of guys were really like trying to I think venturing off, on their own, and like I said, you having the outside world and trying to come into an environment that they have no idea what's going on the inside when we're on that court in the field house. And I think Matt Kleiman and Jeremy, they seen that and felt that. Uh, there are things that were happening, off the court or during practice, but things happen. Those guys were able to keep us together.
Oh, okay. The Oak State loss. I think you said that was the maddest you'd ever seen Self.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
can you say about that day? So that's 2008 loss at Oak State. Yeah.
Like Coach Self was from Oklahoma. Like he coached
Yep.
there, and he really wanted to win that game. I really wanted to win that game too because that was, that trip I went home. That was my cousin's Casey's funeral, and like I wanted to win the game. Not just for Coach Self, but I wanted to win the game for my cousin Casey too. But there were things that happened during the game that shouldn't happen because we go over it and over it and shoot around practice. Then man, I just remember him ripping us all in the locker room. I was like, this dude is pissed. I'm looking at him like he was like he was red as my Scully, man. And I'm like, this dude's about to pass. Like, and that's how mad he was, like, because he really wanted to win that game, and we shouldn't have lost. We should have beat OSU, but it's okay. We got the ring. You're welcome, Coach Sell. We got the, it's okay.
Yeah, it worked out. I don't think y'all didn't lose again.
Nope.
I don't think you lost again. That was it. Yeah.
Nope.
Oh man.
So you know that all these years later, Coach probably thinks that it was him getting mad that led you guys to a national championship, but in reality, we all know it was the secret meeting at Henry T's.
It was the Henry T's meeting.
For sure, it's the meeting. It was the meeting because in that meeting we all said like we wanted to get one for Coach Sell. Like we literally wanted to get one for him. Just the work and the passion that he brought every day, and holding guys accountable. And if something was bad, he was there. Not just him but all the coaches too. But just seeing him coming from Oral Roberts and Illinois, OSU, like it goes on and on and on. And for him not to win the big one, come on, man, let's get it done.
The pressure.
I don't think you're getting that with a young team.
No,
like the idea of like let's go win one for Coach. Like that feels like to me from the outside it looks like something that can only be born from guys who have spent 2-3 years around this coach and have come to appreciate the things that like a kid who's been there for 9 months just can't.
Yeah, especially like I don't understand these young guys today, like especially the guys that go to Kansas and leave. And like I really believe like you guys have to go sit down and just really do your research about the history of KU basketball. Like, why wouldn't you want to try to win there and leave with your names being in the Raptors engraved into the ground, or your pictures and your names all over the wall, your photos all over the wall? When I had the opportunity to take my son back, he could see that was the best feeling in the world, man. Like come on, like you want to be remembered as a winner, not a guy that came when it done and you left. Come on.
When did you take your son back? When was that?
It was he was one.
Wow.
He won. And I have this photo of me holding him. He has like a hoodie on with the Jackson 32 back of it. And we're standing in front of the championship trophy.
Cool. You're gonna get to take him back over
Of course.
and over.
Yeah, definitely.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
My son plays baseball, man. So yeah, he plays baseball. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any chance at getting him onto the basketball court?
Well, what I do is like when we have practice and he's with me, like I let him shoot. Like we'll do 5 spots. I don't let him dribble because like he's young, so kids all they want to do is play around with the basketball. So I try not to build bad habits with him. Then when we're done with that, I put him in the batting cage. I'm not just saying it just because my son, he's a beast, bro. Like he's really good. His eye-hand coordination, he's fast, and he has he plays shortstop, third, and he pitches sometime, and he's a power hitter. And I truly believe just watching him that he's gonna be in the MLB, in the majors.
Oh,
love that. I love that. That makes me think of. Sorry, well that just reminded me of some stuff that you wrote about in the book. And Mike, can we move to the book, or do you have anything else?
I want to. No, okay. I want to. Well, we'll get to any other questions I have later. Well, all right. Okay. I'm going to ask now. I have one last question. Like, just the self KU stuff. Like, how do you? I was surprised to hear that. Like, it got to a point where it's like, let's win this one for self. And at that point, he hadn't been to a Final Four. The loss to UCLA, you could tell he would get pretty ramped up in the tournament, but also like considering how tough he is on guys, like how do people not hate him? How do people not? I mean, I guess some do, but like that's for real. Like, how do you not like the guy?
Yeah, I feel like guys that don't like Coach Self are sensitive, insecure in themselves. He has his ways. Like I said, the foundation's been set. Like whoever he learned from, the coaches that are with him now that went off and had head coaching jobs, they learned from him. So why not learn from one of the best coaches in the country right now? And the way he coaches his players, the way he talks to them, it's nothing negative. It's not like, oh, like he hates your guts and like he's wishing bad things on you. Like he's just trying to. He sees something that you don't see. You got to, and a lot of young guys don't understand that. Like he's been around the game for a very long time.
He's old now. Yeah.
Certain players, characters, mentalities. Like you can't. It's like one thing that I tell my young guys. One thing about the game, you cannot cheat it. Cannot cheat this game because when you come in here and you say, "Oh, I was working out and I was doing development," okay, I can see it. Man, you wasn't doing anything. You wasn't shooting the ball. You wasn't winning layups. You can tell, bro, and it's just and it's helping me to finally understand that how I can evaluate a player, judge them, and develop them at the same time.
That's awesome. All right,
So
thank you.
At what point did you get over it though? Because you were one of those young guys at one point in time.
My senior year. I mean, man, like it was hell, bro. Like my senior year is like, okay, this is it. Okay, he's easing up off me because I'm giving him what he wants to see every day. So, and I felt like when
Wow.
once stuff led up and told me like, this is the player you need to be, and the rest was history.
That's awesome. Okay, I want to talk about your book, Behind the Smile. By the way, we're going to put the link in the description to this podcast and on YouTube. So if you're listening or watching, just scroll down and you can find the link for it on Amazon. This is not really a basketball book. I think you would probably agree with that. Like, this is a book about Darnell Jackson. And what kind of struck me in reading this is that there are a lot of very personal, very intimate stories that you write about.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are unflattering, but you're very open about everything. The level of detail in some of these stories is pretty powerful. And I'm just curious, what compelled you to want to share these stories about yourself with the world?
I've been like I started writing my story back in 2011, and there were a few things that happened that stopped it. I got lost in life. And long story short, uh, last November, no, actually November 5th, that's when I got back on it, and 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 every time I'm around somebody that knows me or people that I meet and we're talking about certain things and I always get asked like, man, like I heard about your story and like you should talk about it, you should tell people about it. And that's what really made me get back on it because I truly believe there are people in this world that went through what I went through, you know, at the even now, like they're going through it now, and I feel like it was just a point of me trying to give a little bit of guidance of mental health and speaking up and just being vulnerable, man. And especially as a man, like especially in the black culture, like we're always taught, to shut up and be strong, not cry, not tell. That's not what this book is about. Like you said, it's not a basketball book, man. It's about everything that I've been through, the things that the Jayhawk Nation can read and enjoy and smile and cry at the same time because my life wasn't easy growing up. Hey, you guys know what I went through at Kansas, but nobody knew what I went through after Kansas. Nobody knew what I was going through when I was in NBA or what I was going through when I was cross seas. So I just felt like this was just the time to really put it out there, and let the world know what I was going through.
Was it hard for you to put those stories down, or was it more like therapeutic to finally be able to be open about it?
It was very hard, man. It was very man. It was difficult. I'm not gonna lie. Just talking about certain parts. Especially with my mom and uh and things that I went through. Because on the outside, a lot of people might just think like, oh, he's living a life and he has this, he has that, but you really don't know what a person is going through on the inside. And like, man, it was times where I'm sitting in front of the computer, or I'm typing, and I'm just crying for hours, bro. Like, just can't believe like I'm still alive. I'm still pushing. I have beautiful children, and now I'm back in the NBA. As an assistant coach.
Nick, you read the book. I've got it coming, as I mentioned, and you were telling me like this is really good. This is really detailed, and it's not like any other KU biography. Certainly, those are pretty light. And it almost reminds me of like what you were saying about like when you got the young guys, and you can't cheat it if you're going to write this thing and have it resonate with people. So I guess like what do you hope people take away, or what do you hope resonates, or is it beyond one thing? But like if there is a message, or to someone who might be interested in picking it up, what would you tell them that you hope they're getting into, or going to get from it?
Uh, the message will be like you're gonna get it all, man. You're gonna get the dark, you're gonna get the light, you're gonna get the triumphs, you're gonna get the trauma, and and a little bit of guidance, and a little bit of understanding of who I am and why I was the way I was, and why I am the person I am today. Because of the things that I went through, mentally, physically, spiritually. Uh, it it molded me into the person that I thought I would never become. And I'm happy. Like I said, I'm grateful, and it's only the beginning, man. Like I still have dreams that I still want to accomplish with this story.
Without giving too much away, you said people don't know what happened after Kansas at a high level,
Mm.
a little bit of what happened. Even we'll call it a teaser or something, but
Mm.
it's kind of what you mean when you say that.
Uh, well, let's just put it this way. After that, when people see me, just say if I just came back to KU, and I'm smiling and everything is great, I'm laughing, and a lot of people don't know, like, I'm going back and I'm sleeping in my car. And I'm waking up every morning, I'm going to work, and I'm picking my children up from their mom's house, taking them to school. And I still got the same smile on my face, like everything is great, everything is okay. But it's not. I didn't, I wouldn't even say we, but it's just like me, but just how grateful it is, like now that I can walk in my room and lay on the bed and put my head on the pillow. I was hiding behind my smile for years, man. And because, I was always scared of opening up and talking about things because I wouldn't know how that person would react to it. So, I would just keep a lot of stuff to myself. And, that's what my mom did. A lot of people know her story. She committed suicide. So it was like she's talking
Did
to me,
you
we laughing, we're joking. And I'm thinking everything is okay because she's smiling and she's laughing. And next thing I know, she killed herself.
you talk about before you get to Kansas and you moved around a lot, starting in Oklahoma, going out to California, coming back to Oklahoma, and you talk about kind of your adolescence when it seemed like you were maybe at sort of a fork in the road
Oh, man.
as to which direction your life was going to go. And I'm sure you look back on it now and the success that you're having in life and are thankful for some of those decisions. But it seems like you were pretty damn close to going down that other side of the road.
I was very close, very, very, very close. And I feel like that's what I wanted to put that part in the book because, I wanted people to understand, like, it wasn't, cake and roses for me growing up, especially the environment that I came from, especially for these young athletes now that think it's cool to, you know, hold guns and you gang banging and don't get me wrong, like at that time, like it was cool because that's all I knew. But now, like these guys that's making money, they think it's cool. And I tell these guys all the time, like to this day, like I know some real guys, and that's not the way you want to go. Like, make your money, man. Get your degree, enjoy your life, have a family, but don't make money and go backwards. That doesn't make sense.
Okay, this reminds me of one of my favorite parts of the book. Mike, I didn't share this with you, and I think you're going to love it. Wally Zerbiak
Mhm.
makes a cameo in this book.
Mhm.
And the way you tell this story, Wally Zerbiak basically saved you financially.
For sure.
Like, this guy taught you how to invest money and is the reason why you had so much money in your account
Hmm.
by the time you were done playing basketball.
Yes, sir. Man, if Wally sees this, Wally, I love you, dude. Man, it was my rookie year, and I remember I'm just sitting there, and they were like, "Hey, man, you gotta fill out this financial form for your savings." And I'm like, "All right." And they're explaining all these numbers to me, man. I didn't understand not one thing. And Wally walks out the locker room. I said, "Hey, Wally, what does this mean?" And he looked at me and he said, "Young fella, if you take any advice from me while I'm here with you," he was like, "invest 100%." He said, "You will thank me later." And that's what I did. And when, excuse me for my language, when shit hit the fan, that's what kept me afloat.
By the way, I've definitely been there where I'm like, I get a job and I see 401k and I'm like, what is this? And you want more of my money?
Yeah.
And Wally Zerbiak, unfortunately for me, I didn't have Wally Zerbiak sitting me down to tell me, like, dude, invest 100%. You'll thank me later, which is
Yeah.
exactly what you're doing now.
Yes, sir. Exactly what he told me to do, man. And I'm like, whew, those years. And I'm like, yo, what am I going to do? Then I looked at that 401k, man, and I was like, thank you, Wally. Thank you.
When's the last time you talked to Wally?
I,
We need to get word to him.
it's been years since I talked to Wally. I honestly, I think I still have his number. I have to go through my call log. But I hope he gets the opportunity to read it. I think I'm gonna try to reach out to him on, on social media. But I really hope he get a chance to read it. A lot of those guys, Shaq, Bron, uh, we'll see.
I didn't realize the relationship that you had with J.R. Giddens before you got to Kansas
Mhm.
and how that relationship kind of put Kansas on your radar. What was that relationship like with JR back in high school?
JR was my brother, man. He still is. Like he used to come pick me up, and we'll go to the gym and work out, or we'll go hang out at his place, and we'll watch the Kansas games. And not knowing, like, I was already in love with Kansas because of seeing Drew Gooden on TV play, and I think they won the Big 12 championship, and he was doing an interview. Then when JR had the opportunity to go on his recruit visit, and when Roy was still there, he was like, "Man, you want to go with me?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!" Then as soon as I got there, we go in the locker. Well, we go upstairs first. I meet Roy. Then we go downstairs to the locker room, and that's when all the guys are in there, like Wayne, Keith, Mike, Aaron. Then I didn't get to meet Drew because they were saying Drew was sick. So I think he was like in a training room or something. So while we were walking out outside, he walks out. And I'll never forget, he had on this like all blue KU velour jumpsuit. And he walked up to me, shook my hand, and he was like, "What's up, young fella?" And I was like, "Man, I'm good. How are you?" He's like, "Oh, man, I'm all right." Then he walked towards the towers. So they were saying, like, "Oh, he might not play. He's sick." We go back into the field house. And next thing you know, all I hear is Drew. He's running out, bro. I was like, I gotta come here. Like this is the place I need to be.
That's amazing. Everybody has a different path to like wind up at Kansas. And I know like for Kansas fans like myself,
Mhm.
who it's all you care about when you're a kid, like you don't realize that like everybody has a very unique path to being initiated into this cult following of Kansas basketball fans. And that was a pretty cool one.
Yes, sir.
But you almost ended up at Illinois. So
Yeah.
we don't have to talk about that, but I'm
If
sure glad you didn't, man.
stuff didn't get the Kansas job, I would have been in Illinois. Guaranteed. I would have guaranteed Illinois. No doubt. Yeah, I was sold. Like, man, come on. Coach Stuff and Norm Roberts, come on, let's do it. No, And Brian Cook was one of my favorite players in college basketball. Like he was a beast. And and I would have had the opportunity to play under him. Oh, come on. Let's do it.
And it's incredible that here we are reminiscing about your time at Kansas, and you fast forward 15 years, Bill Self, Norm Roberts, still at Kansas.
Amen.
Still roaming the sidelines.
Let's do it.
Well, the name of the book is Behind the Smile. I can't recommend it enough if you're a Kansas fan, but honestly, even if you're not a Kansas fan, I think you're going to enjoy this story. I started reading it 2 nights ago, and I couldn't put it down. So congratulations to you, Darnell. It's an amazing story, and I want to get this in front of as many Kansas fans as possible. Congrats to you in all your success in life and what you're doing now with the Clippers. It's just so cool to see, and I know we appreciate you taking some time to talk to us tonight, man.
Yes, sir. No problem. Thank you so much.
I just want to say, thank you for writing this. I know this is stereotyping a bit. You've got a Kansas basketball fan is probably 16, 35-year-old male, right? Like that's the target demographic. That's not going to be the demo that is most in tune or most open or talking about mental health. Certainly, I think in the Midwest as well, where I think people keep the smile sometimes when everything's not okay, and it's just so important for hopefully people to talk about it and know that it's normal, and you need to talk about it and open up like that. And so I just am glad you're doing this, and I really hope and think it'll resonate with people. I know it has, and this conversation has with me. So thank you for doing it and taking the time.
Crack the shell. You're welcome. Crack the shell. Don't hide in it. Crack it. Let's get it.